I'm thinking back, and I believe it was 1976, the first time I ever had a chance to fish stripers. I was doing promotional fishing with Gary Roach, and we were traveling together, and we had to meet a couple of reps for Lindy's down at Douglas Reservoir outside of Knoxville. And we went up into this river mouth in the morning, and there was a big pool up there, and boy, it looked like a beautiful spot. And we fished and fished and fished, not a bite. Okay, Roach says they're out in the lake, we gotta find them out in the lake back. So we took off. And we fished and fished and fished, and it started to storm and rain, and it was just terrible. The guy with us, Dan was his name, the rep, had a rain suit, but it wasn't a real good one. So he couldn't have probably got any wetter if we'd have dunked him or drug him behind the boat, you know? He was just like a mushrat out there. And we're working our way around, and we're fairly close to the dock, and he says, you know, and it's just pouring. But Gary and I both got real good rain suits, so we're warm and dry inside, but can't fish for crap in that stuff, you know, I mean, it's pouring. And he said, could you guys take me back to the dock? I'm freezing to death. All right, took him back to the dock. We still had not had a bite from a striper. We'd spent the majority of the day. I looked over at that river, looked back at Roach. He was turning to look up at the river. I said, you thinking what I'm thinking, Gary? He said, it ain't gonna take us but a minute. I said, let's do her. So we dropped Dan off there, and we took off. We went back up to that pool up the river. We come around the corner, and the whole pool, the whole surface of the pool was foaming white water with fish freaking out. I don't know how many stripers moved into there, but I swear all of them in the lake and a couple of other lakes. The thing was alive with it. You could catch a striper on any cast, on any lure. The biggest ones we caught were about 30 pounds that day, but I mean, they were big fish. They're all big fish. Gary finally got to the point, if you know Gary Roach, he can get these crazy notions. He's got his ultralight rod out there and 6-pound line, and I'm landing 4 or 5 stripers while he's got one on, and he's just giggling like a little kid. We just had a blast, and it's still finally, the rain subsided some, and we thought, well, you know, Dan is really the client. We should probably go find him back at the, I don't know how many stripers we caught, a gazillion of them. They all look giant. We don't have stripers in our part of the country up here. You guys that fish reservoirs have them down there, and Santee Cooper's where they first come in to the out of the ocean, and they got landlocked in there. And then there was a guy down there that I met who was the biologist that first got him transferred into other lakes. But that's another story. Anyway, so I've fished stripers a number of times since then. Never, my goal was I wanted at least a 40-pounder. 50-pounders out of the reservoirs are something they talk about, and they're caught every once in a while, but very seldom. You know, so 40 pounds is my goal. So on this particular trip, I bring Greg Kaiser, my good friend, and at the time he was also our general manager. I bring him along on the trip. He'd never caught a striper in his life. I mean, his first one is 35 pounds or something like that. And that day, he catches a 40-pounder. And I catch some high 30s, but I can't break 40 pounds. Saved my soul. First time ever. He goes up, boom, gets a 40-pounder. We fished our butt off. You could see those great big eels that we were using. I mean, that was a crazy thing that's the wildest thing I've ever used to put on a hook to entice something to eat it, I'll tell you that. You notice Bobby always had a washcloth in his hand. He wouldn't hang on to the eels. He'd hold them with the washcloth, and then he'd slide them out to get the slime from the eel off into the washcloth and not on his hand, and then he'd throw them out. The lawnmower guy that does the 100 miles an hour in the lawnmower. And if you haven't got to that part of the show yet, you'll see him do it. Anyway, it was just it's like not fair. I've probably fished stripers since that trip, the inaugural trip in 1976, Oh, all of 20 times on top waters, on downriggers, on trolling baits, on casting, a number of different methods, and caught a bunch of good ones, and never a 40-pounder. I did catch like a 17-pound hybrid, which is a big one for a hybrid, but not my elusive one, and I thought, here's the spot. And as we go, it just goes and goes. We get to the last afternoon, and I'll tell you about this after a while.
There you go, there you go, there you go, there you go, babe. All right. We just put that one down, babe.
I know. Holy bucket.
Lord.
I like this.
Underneath the boat there, babe.
Come on, Beat. 55 pounds. He's not.
It's still a nice fish, though,
babe.
babe.
That's a good fish.
All right,
darn right it is. Where's the net?
All right.
Yes, sir.
Come on now, fishy.
You can do it. You can do it.
Is. That's a beauty.
Oh my God.
Boy, these are big, strong fish. Well, morning 3. This has been a fun trip. This is the kind of a trip that, man, if you like to catch big fish, you got to do this every once in a while because the stripers fight hard. Almost all of them are big. Probably the biggest ones in the world are right here. It's very close. So it is a cool
Got one on here.
place to be fishing.
Stay squared up with the fish. Stay squared up with the fish. Clear the rest of the lines up forward. Clear all that to the forward.
Numero uno.
Well, I tell you what, I made some friends this weekend. Oh, that's a nice one to start with. Babe is just a wonderful guy. All right. It made me feel real comfortable that we was even talking trash on each other, you know, by the second day. Now that was a nice start for the day. Where was Babe? I don't know, he's way back in the back of the boat. He needs to be in front of the boat if he's gonna catch a big fish
Babe was
today.
back here watching you meet Hog, the guy who was supposed to get first bite.
Yeah. You know, we have to listen to this
no attention
all
to me.
day long. Babe, shut up.
Fish on!
Fish on over here.
Here, babe.
Go get him. Babe, he made the trip wonderful. Go, babe, go. You know, he's a great guy.
Boy, that was a frightened puppy, I'll tell you what.
You know, I picked at him, he picked at me. We just had fun the whole weekend. Yeah! Babe, where's he at?
Lay into him, Bobby.
What are you letting him do, Bobby?
He's running.
Bobby's a hoot. He's a Georgia boy. I'm from North Carolina. We got along really well. Oh, that's a nice fish. That's a nice fish there. When you cowboy up to go fishing for 3 days with somebody, you want to be with the right guys for a 3-day adventure.
There's no better fishing than here in the Chesapeake Bay.
When you put your time in out there, it's just like, that's our deer stand out there waiting for that big buck to come by or that big striper to come by. It's just a great opportunity for somebody to come here who has never caught a big striper and catch one real easily over 30 pounds, pushing 40, 50, and even possibly 60 pounds.
Come on, Hogzilla. Look at the drag scream.
He set the hook on that fish and the boat was coming.
Get them up, everything up, everything up.
Max said, you better get it in because this boat's coming. We were actually right on the edge of the shipping channel.
Babe, you better get that fish in quick because that big ship's coming after us.
And the wake that thing was throwing was incredible.
Just look at that water coming right here behind you there, babe.
Oh, good God. Holy. I looked over my shoulder and I seen something coming. Look what's behind me.
This is gonna be a big wake here, guys.
Big wake.
Big wake. Balance the boat, please. Balance the boat.
And I've got the biggest, or I
Here we
think
go.
at least the biggest striper of my life on this thing. Is just going crazy.
All right, here we go, here we go, here we go.
Holy cow.
Big wake, big fish here in the Chesapeake.
That was kind of an awesome sight to see a boat that big and amongst that many fishermen.
Welcome to the Chesapeake Bay there, babe.
This is my bucket list right here. Well, this tournament was called the Hogzilla Tournament. And that's what they kept saying, we got to catch Hogzilla. This is Hogzilla.
Hogzilla.
Hogzilla! Well, with this fish, he went crazy. Just kept on going and going and going and going.
Why are you letting him go? Why are you letting him go off the reel?
Because you got the drag set too loose. Actually, the drag is not set too loose. That's a good thing. Well, I'd try and bring him to the boat and he'd go. My arms started cramping up. He was fighting so hard. Look at the St. Croix bend. This is a beautiful rod for this too, I might add.
It loads up well, keeps tension on the fish.
And you got plenty of backbone in this thing to put the power on him. and I thought, sure, this fish has got to be 40 or 50 pounds. I got
color.
him coming closer.
Got
Oh.
color. Got color.
Well, I wound up with a 30-some pound crazy fish. There's no other way to say it. I figured that fish had to be 50 pounds. He must have had an Evinrude E-Tech that he had swallowed at some point in time because he just wouldn't quit. Can you imagine? This is 30 pounds of fish that thinks he's 130 pounds by the way he fights.
Just head first right into the water.
Look what he did. This is what you call gratitude. Got my hand too. Where's the reel clean? Oh, need a little more than that. We came here to film a television show and show people what Chesapeake Bay is like, what it's like to catch big stripers. And we caught big stripers. Had a heck of a great time. If there's a better place to catch big stripers, I don't know where it is. The last afternoon, see, sometimes filming, you guys don't get to see this, but sometimes filming gets in the road of what I want to do as a fisherman. Lots of times it does. We had to do interviews with Max, and he's the MC at the tournament, so we had to be there by 5 o'clock. We'd got a Chevrolet truck to use from one of the local dealers. We had some stuff we needed to film for them. I had to do interviews with Max and with Bobby Cleveland, and the crew and I had this stuff to do. So on the last day, our third day, we had to stop fishing at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to get all that done so we could be over to film the weigh-in and see who won. And wouldn't you know it? Wouldn't you know it? I mean, I don't know if this is me causing this or what, but as soon as we get off the lake, the big fish started to bite. Now when I say big fish, 40 plus pounders, 40 to 50 pounders. Oh, and by the way, did I say 7 of them over 50 pounds to the biggest about 55 pounds was caught in a 2.5 hour period while the crew and I sat on shore doing our interviews and the other stuff we had to do. And I didn't even get a crack at them when it was the big fish's turn to turn on, and they did. That close. After traveling that far from Minnesota all the way to Chesapeake Bay, and to miss it by a couple of hours when it happened, I can't believe the rotten luck sometimes. Now, on the other hand, good luck I was there. I caught beautiful fish. I made new friends. But the damn thing's still on my bucket list, 1 over 40. And after seeing that, I'm going to go back to the Chesapeake Bay. This show, watching this thing before you got to see this, just made me vow I'm going back there to fish with Max again. And I may stay there long enough until I get a 50 or 40. That'll work too. I have no control. All I'm doing is hanging on to this end of them.
We've known that ever since we've been on the boat that you was out of control.
There goes the redneck again, and I can't even retaliate. I'll get you.
You know, you lost your turn with that little minnow you just caught. I guess I'm gonna have to take the next turn and catch the bigger. He's gonna have to catch a 60-pounder to catch up with me and Greg's, all I got to say.
You got plenty of backbone in this thing to put the power on.
You say you needed some backbone?
Hey, Kaiser, I want you to do me a favor. Take that little redneck up to the front of the boat.
You know, all of us get up real early. But Babe's the only one that sleeps in a beanbag chair.
Babe, wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Wake up!
Bobby! Bobby!
I can understand. He's a little bit older than we are. But he's the fisherman. He's the man.
Bobby, you better be on point, boy.
He ought to be up here with us, making us catch fish. But no, beanbag chair Babe's what I'm gonna start calling.